So today we're here to speak with Paula Weiss about the Michigan State Police Angel Program. But first, we're going to have everybody introduce themselves so she knows who she's talking to. So Susie Klein.
Hi, I'm Susie Klein. I've been working with Paula for a couple years, 3 years as a volunteer for the Angel Program. I'm also part of the Grand Traverse County Drug-Free Coalition and on the advisory committee for the new stabilization center that we're trying to get up and running in Traverse City. And yeah, I think that's about it.
All right.
I'm an angel.
Yes, and you're an angel in more ways than one. So Tim Hudson.
Hi, I'm Tim Hudson. I'm with Michigan Opioid Collaborative with Michigan Medicine. I'm a behavioral health consultant, and I cover the 21 other counties. We do outreach and look for ways to increase the number of waiver providers in Michigan to treat opioid use disorder, as well as provide education and same-day consultations for all substance use disorders and Hep C.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Tim. Tim Shoecraft.
I am also with Michigan Opioid Collaborative. I'm the peer recovery coordinator. I do a lot of work with stigma and the community coalitions throughout the state, and just a lot of I participate in webinars and polysubstance talks, and we're putting together a stigma series right now starting next year in January.
Nice to meet you all.
Great,
Oh, Susanna, you should probably introduce yourself.
I'm Suzanne Pettis. I'm the coordinator of Live Well Kolkaska Substance Free Coalition. I'm also a trained MSP angel, and I've got a lot of other hats that I wear in the community. So I want to welcome everybody to the Live Well Kolkaska Substance Free Coalition's forum, Coffee with the Coalition. So take it away, Paula.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to present in front of your group. Very much appreciate all of your work that you're all doing out there, whether you're a volunteer or actually directly working in this realm. As you all know, substance use disorder is a huge problem in the United States and in Michigan. So I applaud all of your efforts and the work that you're doing. Thank you too. So I don't forget, for the mug, we delivered a training for the Michigan State Police Angel Program yesterday in Kolkaska. We trained 9 Kolkaska County Sheriff's Department staff members and 5 new angel volunteers for that area. So it was a great day. Suzanne was there in support of the new angels that came on, as well as Susie, and she presented me with a mug for sharing today. So I appreciate that. Thank you. As you know, my name is Paula Weiss. I'm with Michigan State Police. I'm the statewide coordinator for their angel program. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit about that program, the history of it, where we're at today, and then maybe include a few goals moving forward. And hopefully all goes well here as I share my screen and put a PowerPoint up for you. Bear with me one second. And hopefully you are all seeing a PowerPoint in front of you. Good. Okay. All right. Wonderful. So I've already introduced myself. We'll move on to the next slide. And really how the Michigan State Police Angel Program, or actually all angel programs in the United States, to my knowledge, started out of a small town in Gloucester, Massachusetts. They really were looking for a revolutionary way to fight the war on drugs, not just facing the demand, not just the supply. And they wanted an arrest diversion. Really, they were looking at years and years of arresting and releasing. And it really created that revolving door of folks suffering with substance use disorder being thrown in jail, detoxing very cruelly in jail, and then being released and starting that process all over again. So They implemented the first Angel program. They had great success. A couple hundred people, I believe, their first year, and said, hey, we need to take this a step further. And they created from there a nonprofit group called PARI, which is the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative. And their mission was to not only support Gloucester, but to aid other law enforcement agencies to implement Angel programs. In 2016, Michigan was the first statewide agency to join that effort. And they launched in Gaylord, Michigan. And like I said, that was at the end of 2016. A year later, we went statewide. In 2018, I was hired through a state opioid response grant. And I'm still funded that way today. And I'm the only full-time person that's dedicated to the promotion and coordination of the program, although the program is supported and implemented in all 30 posts. We continue to keep everyone trained as we have staff that rolls over, retirements, promotions, that type of thing. And now we're continuing to build our volunteer base as well. So very proud of the fact that we were the first statewide agency to implement the statewide program. It's been a challenge, that's for sure. As you can imagine, going, if you're just a small police department in a small community, you can kind of wrap your arms around that a little bit easier than you can a statewide program. So we're still growing each and every day. We have served 612 participants. And again, this is a number that I am very, very proud of. We have a 98% placement rating. That means that people that come to us are getting delivered into treatment. We're not handing out phone numbers. We're not simply sending them to a PIHP. I'm guessing that you all know what a PIHP is. We are literally taking them by the hand, wrapping our arms around them until we get them delivered into treatment. And part of that is also connecting with their family and friends, including them in that process. Again, that's helping us break down communication barriers and anything that might get in the way of actually getting them into a treatment center. We do that legally, of course, through the consent form, through DHHS, making sure that we're not breaking any HIPAA laws. So Michigan State Police has 22 CSTs. CSTs are community service troopers. They are scattered throughout the 30 posts in the state. Their job really is a focus on community outreach and engagement to strengthen communities. And they serve in a variety of ways through mentoring youth, work with seniors, educating citizens on emerging crime trends, and work with other police agencies to strengthen law enforcement. They also participate heavily with the Angel program, specifically with training MSP staff, recruiting and training program volunteers. We offer a safety training to all of our volunteers. Actually, it's a requirement that they go through that training before we put them in contact with our program participants. They provide public education and assist participants as well. We have lots and many partners. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the PIHPs, treatment centers, law enforcement agencies. We now have probation officers that come to us for help getting people into treatment. Medical clinics are now joining that effort. They will send folks to us, or at least provide our information, so that people that they're seeing that are suffering with substance use disorder have a resource that they can call, that know the system in the state of Michigan, that can get them into treatment and in the right level of treatment as quickly as possible. We put individuals through a guided substance use disorder assessment intake process. Our piece is pretty quick and painless. We can probably complete our paperwork in 10 minutes once you're comfortable and know it. And then, of course, our biggest partners are working with the PIHPs for folks that have Medicaid or no insurance. Private insurance is a little bit different, and sometimes can be complicated depending on that insurance, but we've created resources to be able to help folks that have private or commercial insurance as well. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, our angel volunteers are very key to the success of our program. They are called in once a person walks into a state police post or one of our local law enforcement agencies, whether it be a city PD or a county department. Once we pre-qualify them through a background check and complete that initial qualification process, we call in an angel volunteer to really come in and support that person while we're getting them through the PIHP process or the insurance process. And then we also provide transportation to the treatment facility. Local partners, I think I mentioned that. I think we're up to about 17 of them. They are posted on our webpage at michigan.gov/angel program if you ever want to learn more or see who our local partners are. So folks can walk into now Kolkaska County Sheriff's Department and be served. The same with Grand Traverse area, their city and county both have joined us. And then we have many others. Another new police department that we recently signed on was Detroit PD out of their 4th precinct. They are not fully functioning at this point, but we're still working toward that. I think we have Cadillac PD and then obviously all of the Michigan State Police posts in the 7th district as well. Qualifications to become an angel volunteer. These are really it. You cannot be a registered sex offender or have any serious felonies. You must be at least 21 years of age, have a valid driver's license, registered and insured vehicle that's in good operating condition, and the ability and willingness to transport participants to the treatment center. Submitting to a criminal background check is also required. And if you're in recovery, we think that our angels that are in recovery are probably some of the best angel volunteers that we have because they have that empathy piece. They know what that person is going through, but they must have at least 2 years of recovery under their belt. And then, of course, complete the program volunteer training. So how it works? It's really pretty simple. The participant must voluntarily seek treatment at an MSP post. They can also give us a call and we can start the process over the phone, kind of coach them through, hey, this is what you can expect when you go to the post. Again, it's going to be a simple background check, making sure that the person does not have any warrants, they're not on the registered sex offender list. And that they are medically well enough, not that we are doctors, but if we see somebody that's in distress, we're going to probably require them to get to a hospital. We can work on getting them into treatment later. Juveniles must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. Once they're there and once they've been pre-qualified, the volunteer is then called in to assist with placement and treatment. And then, of course, transported to the treatment by the volunteer or family member or friend. And that's really the gist of how the program works. Probably the best presentation that I can do is to allow all of you to ask questions about any piece of the program and how it works. So that being said, any questions out there? No? Not
So
at all?
I'll ask some questions.
Sure.
In our community, so we wouldn't go to an MSP post. The person who's seeking treatment would show up at our county sheriff's department.
Correct. And I apologize for that. A post or a county department or a city PD that has partnered with us In other words, they've all been trained. We've provided all the documentation and the support, so they know exactly how the program functions. Then, yeah, absolutely. So in your community, they would come through Kolkaska. Thanks for
Right.
clarifying.
And so the program itself, it as of today, it's functioning, it's running.
Absolutely. Up and running, functioning. I had 2 intakes this morning. I know Sarah was working on one. Sarah Lou Ridge, she is a technician that works 4 days a week with me, basically helping with intakes. So she's another resource for you. And Suzanne, I can make sure that I know you have my contact information, but I will send you Sarah's as well.
Yeah, I think I have Sarah's card somewhere.
Great.
So, but is it up and running in Kolkaska County as of today?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Are you ready to serve when you're called? So if that's a yes, then absolutely.
All right. All right. Let's see. So the PIHP, all of us know what that is, but can you go into that a little bit more for someone that might watch this video?
Sure. So the prepaid inpatient health plan, they are basically agencies that are contracted through the Department of Health and Human Services to screen and approve folks that have Medicaid or no insurance for block grant funding, really to approve them to get into treatment. So 95% of the participants that come through our program are on Medicaid or have no insurance. So we work with the PIHPs on a regular basis. If you're a Kolkaska County participant that has Medicaid, once we screen you through those background checks and making sure that you're well enough to go into treatment, we reach out then to the PIHPs and coordinate with them again that screening that's going to dive a bit deeper into the person's background. They're going to decide what level of care that they need, and then they're going to offer the options that they have for treatment. We are then going to schedule with and through the PIHP where that person is going to go to treatment and then provide transportation from there. So.
All right.
Can
Does
I,
anybody else?
can I ask, yeah, I'm not going to ask a question, but I just want Paula to maybe explain a little bit more about why our PD and our county went with this program in terms of safety for not only angels, but everybody involved.
So sure, I think that, well, first of all, for a person, let's say a heroin user, to walk into a law enforcement agency with maybe heroin in their pocket and ask for help, you have to understand that they're probably in a pretty desperate place, because that's pretty counterintuitive to where folks are going to go that are suffering with this disease, seeking help. So one of the things that we do and that we require is a background check for each and every one of our participants. And as I mentioned earlier, registered sex offenders would not qualify for our program because we're a law enforcement agency and we have to consider everyone's safety. And that's the safety of those working at the treatment centers, the safety of those other people that are at the treatment centers, and then of course the safety of our volunteers as they're working and transporting people into treatment. We do everything that we can, even when somebody may have a warrant, to get those warrants mitigated and get them into treatment as quickly as possible. So a participant may call me and I say, hey, you've got to go into a post or a local law enforcement agency, one of our partners, to sign up for this program. And we're going to run a background check. And some of them are very taken back by that. Well, why do I need that to get help? Well, you really don't. But if you would like to come through our program and you would like our advocacy, we have to have that because we have to make sure that you're safe and that you do not have any outstanding warrants. And people will tell us, hey, I've got warrants. Okay, what are they for? What's happening? Can we get them mitigated? Can we get them arraigned? Can we get them in to treatment, even though they've got this outstanding warrant? And again, we're doing absolutely everything that we can to make sure that that happens. When they have arrestable warrants, or let's say the county wants to arrest them and extradite them, we're a law enforcement agency and we have to abide by that. We've had 4 arrests since 2016. All 4 of those folks went in, did the time that they needed to do, came out and went through the program. Getting arrested is not the worst thing that can happen, as we know. Sometimes it may be the thing that actually saves their life. However, we are an arrest diversion program, really just looking to make sure that everyone is in good enough standing to be at a treatment center.
Excuse me, did you, I don't know if I heard that correctly, only 4 have actually been extradited or arrested?
That's correct.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is that, do you think, have more to do with the nature of the warrant or the location that the warrant was in?
I think it's both. I know 2 of them for sure were out of Livingston County. They're very, very conservative. And you know, when people talk to me on the phone, I'm like, and actually one of those people actually told me about their warrant. It was an assault warrant. And I said, hey, if you go in, Livingston County is going to extradite. They are. And this person said, that's okay. If that's the case, I need to face this. So yes, and they are for more serious crimes. If they're a traffic offense or something, you know, that really isn't, even misdemeanors, we know we can mitigate. If they're a felony, it can be a bit more complicated. Sometimes we can get them arraigned right away. The courts want folks to go in and get treatment. So they are all really pretty flexible right now with treatments like or programs like the Angel program, because they too want to see them go in and they'll do an advise and release. Come and see us when you get done and get this cleaned up. So it's really working well. Obviously, if somebody's got you know, a year of not paying their child support, the court's going to frown on that. And they're going to say, hey, you need to arrest these folks. We're coming to get them.
So, in your opinion, how important is it for family members to be involved in this process, if possible?
It is extremely important. I think that number one, the participant needs to know and feel their support. Now, we are also seeing family members that, you know, they've been through a lot with participants most of the time, and they're kind of at the end of their rope. They want to bring them over to us and say, here you go, you know, and kind of run out the door. And we always tell them, hey, please don't take off. Number one, we don't know if we can get them placed immediately. Number two, we need their involvement, again, to remove any barriers to actually getting this person into treatment. And when we can communicate with a family member legally, we're not breaking any HIPAA laws. That's really been the success of our program, because when treatment is delayed, let's say it's two or 3 days before we can actually deliver somebody into a treatment center, anything can happen in those 2 to 3 days. And when we can set somebody up with a family member, kind of keeping track of them, knowing they are supposed to be delivered into treatment, let's say on Friday at 2 p.m. at ATS in Grand Traverse. That's going to remove that barrier for reasons why somebody can't get into treatment. So it really is the reason why we have that 98% success rate, because we're working with families and friends, removing any barriers for the participant themselves to sometimes hide behind.
You may have already said this. I apologize if it's a repeat here, but how many volunteers do you guys have? And do you know how many people have successfully completed the program through treatment?
So 612 people have, as far as the treatment, once they complete the treatment program at a treatment center.
Yeah.
So because it's primarily only been me, we are not doing follow-up on our participants. And a lot of those follow-up numbers are recorded through the Department of Health and Human Services. So the scope of our work is to deliver them into treatment. And then we're counting on the professionals at the treatment centers to get them through the program and to report that information through DHHS. We have delivered 612 people, 98% of 612, whatever that number is. I don't have a calculator in front of me. And primarily the only reason that we haven't delivered them into treatment, I think we had one sex offender and we had a few people that basically refused to go. And from our perspective, when I'm delivering training and I'm working with volunteers, or if we are doing an intake ourselves, the only reasons that we should ever not be delivering somebody into treatment, regardless of the challenges that we often face doing that, is if they're on the registered sex offender list, and we're not going to just drop them. We're going to connect them with the PIHP, because we know there are a couple of treatment centers in the state of Michigan that accept sex offenders. So we're not just saying, sorry, can't help you, go away. We're giving them the information that we can. If they have an arrestable warrant, so we know we've had 4 people that have fallen into that category, and then if they refuse to go to treatment, that's really it. We will work through any barrier that there is, and there have been barriers with insurances and you know, maybe it's veterans, the VA. Sometimes it's a longer list or a longer process to get them through those processes, but we stick with the participant. And you know, we so often hear, I've called, you know, everybody in the state of Michigan and no one will help me. And they are so relieved when we say, we're going to help you. We're going to stick with you. If you stick with me, I'm going to stick with you, and we're going to get you the help that you need. Did that answer your question?
I have a calculator here. It's 599.76.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Suzanne.
Now this is a doozy of a question, but what would you say has been the most effective to bring all of these parties together to get all this collaboration, particularly family?
So bringing the family together is huge. And again, even when they're at the end of their rope, and they're even relieved, they will say to me, tell us what to do, you know, tell us what we need to do to help get them there. And as long as they have the participants' willingness to go, there's not a whole lot standing in our way, except for a little bit of time. So connecting with the family is absolutely huge. That really is why we have that, what was that, 99 point, that 599 point
599
delivery rate. And that's what we're about. We're about quality. We're not about, you know, trying to boost our numbers to be in the thousands, which I hope to, of course, someday be there. As far as bringing in local partners and partnering with everyone working in this realm, it's really, we're stronger together. We shouldn't ever have any competition in this realm in helping folks. And if we are not all working together throughout communities in the state of Michigan, I'm not sure how we will ever get to wrapping our arms around this, which we all know we're decades away from. But it's really the only way until each and every one of us embrace it. And that's why it's not unusual or weird to have law enforcement doing this. And I think that people could be surprised by it, but it really makes sense. We've figured out how the process works to the best of our knowledge. We've partnered with all of these wonderful people in many different realms. And without that, I think at that point we might lose hope if we can't all come together and work on this issue. My goal.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. From my perspective, my goal is that when we are all truly embracing this and we get our arms wrapped around this crisis, we really shouldn't have a need for a Michigan State Police Angel program. We're a long way from that, don't get me wrong, but we all need to wrap our arms around this and understand it as a disease, and know the science behind it, and removing that stigma is the only way we're going to do that is by coming together.
Yeah, right there. It's amazing to see this program growing, and especially that it is the law enforcement arm that is behind it. Like you said, it's law enforcement agency. There's so much about the problem, and I know you had mentioned this earlier too, about how it had just been kind of lock it up, detox it, put it back. And I mean, as history has shown, that just is not effective. And having law enforcement be the front where such a dramatic change in policy is occurring does so much to speak to how stigma can change. Because everybody thinks of the law enforcement arm as being the stigmatizing, like they're criminals, but to see this within that establishment, it can really speak to the entire community about why these things are the stigmatizing ideas that people hold are just, I mean, nonsense. And like you said, you're not you for quality, but I mean, 98% is also quantity as far as I'm concerned. Like, you're hitting both marks there.
Thank you.
One question I had is, has complications regarding medications for substance use disorder come up, where participants, that's the sort of treatment they want, or that they need, and then having treatment providers that won't permit it, or think just anything there?
So right now, I was working with a young lady this morning, and she's been on Suboxone. It helped her, at first, but it doesn't seem to be doing the trick now. So I don't know if they would increase her dosage or switch her to a Vivitrol or whatever the case may be. So once I have her signed off and have a background check done, we'll work with the PIHP to say, this is what she's looking for. Their staff is really who's going to recommend, okay, let's send her over to Sacred Heart. They've got doctors on staff. They can switch her over. They can pull her off of Suboxone and then connect her with a facility or a doctor that will provide a new MAT. And I think, everybody sees it differently. We know, and actually what the data is showing is that MAT works, and it works well. But I also understand at some point, folks are going to want to come off of that, but they need to be on it long enough to get that 2-year mark and their brain back working the way that it's supposed to work. I wouldn't say that there's resistance, but sometimes it causes a bit more confusion because not everybody wants to be on it. And so, we're just really trusting the PIHPs to guide us and to guide the person to the best case scenario. And they really do listen to the person and what they want. Do you want to be on a substance? And I'm not sure that there are all that many treatment centers that offer MAT. They will offer to get a person off of a substance. They'll put them then into, a residential treatment, and then they should be connecting them to a facility that can offer whatever MAT that person wants to be on. They should be offering all of those solutions. So that's kind of outside of our scope, but that's what we explain to the person, and we explain to the family, hey, make sure that they are connected to a methadone clinic if that's what they want to be. Make sure that they're connected to an outpatient treatment facility or therapy before they leave that treatment center, because the treatment center should be making sure they are aligned with all of those services before they come out. And they often are, But as we know what happens, I think once somebody detoxes, they're in an environment where they are off the substance for those total of maybe 30 days. Hey, I'm strong enough. I've got this. I can go home. I don't need to go to therapy. I don't need the MAT. And then they wind up back in trouble. So they maybe are not taking advantage of that, but that's why we're communicating with those families. Hey, if this is truly what they want to do, those should be offered to them before they leave treatment. Does that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, it definitely does. I understand this is outside of your scope, so it's just kind of me editorializing. As a person in recovery, it's been my experience that in a lot of treatment centers that don't provide these services, there's an active effort to dissuade people from trying to pursue MAT
really?
options. Yeah.
Really?
So during that detox period, if there's an agency that is very, say, traditional, that has that abstinence only sort of model, and like the 12-step only sort of that regimented model that is also as antiquated as the incarceration. There will be an active effort to talk people into not pursuing that treatment.
Wow.
And I guess that was more the barrier or the issues that I was asking if you've encountered, but you answered it perfectly with the trusting the PIHP. And they are typically, PIHPs are
Right. Mhm.
going to offer all services that are
Right.
available.
Absolutely. And the other thing that we do is I will tell folks, hey, if you're not offered this and you want this, or even and this is communicated to the families, when you get out of treatment, give me a call, because that's all it'll take. We'll get back on the phone with the PIHP and we'll make sure you have those supportive services, whatever they may be, whether it's therapy or MAT. So absolutely. And congratulations to you on being in recovery.
Thank you.
How long have you been in recovery, if you don't mind me asking?
5 years and 3 months.
Awesome.
It has
Maybe
been my thoughts on the stigma is that it amazes me sometimes that the substance use and addiction has so much stigma around it, but within the community, like the recovery community, we're so good at stigmatizing one another.
Absolutely.
In that sort of there will be things said that like Suboxone isn't real recovery, and it's just kind of
Unfortunate.
yeah. And I mean that right there is such a big barrier to this issue. That again, I understand is way outside your scope. You're doing what sounds like an amazing amount of work on your part, but yeah, it is something that for how much judgment there is of addiction, it's amazing how much we then turn and judge each other.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I can hear one thing from one person and the complete opposite from another in working in this realm. And from my perspective, if it helps to keep a person sober and back into a functioning family member, and they're holding down a job and they're living in their community, hey, if it's standing on your left foot for 20 minutes every morning keeps you sober, then that's a great plan,
Yeah.
And that's what people really need to understand. It looks different to everyone.
Yeah, my philosophy
they need
is
the freedom and room to do that.
If anybody finds genuine, complete satisfaction in their life, I need to be asking advice, not giving criticism, because that's something I need more in my life.
Exactly. Any other comments, questions, conversation pieces?
Well, I can remind everybody about the 8th annual Kolkaska County Serenity Vigil, which is going to be taking place next Monday, December 6th. Doors open at 6 o'clock. It starts at 6:30. It's at the Kolkaska Church of Christ. Our special speaker is going to be Melissa Heller. She used to be a grade school principal in Kolkaska County. She lost her son Jake a few years ago. He actually was in recovery for quite some time, and from what I hear, he had relapsed and took his life. From what I heard, didn't get the whole story. She's going to tell us that, but through what I've heard from other people, it really put him in a rough spot. He felt like he failed, and we don't want anybody to feel that way. Our local musician Daryl Boger is going to be playing music throughout it. We're going to start out at the church where Melissa's going to speak. We're going to have an educational piece. I'm thinking about doing a piece on stigma. And then we're going to walk from the church by candlelight down to our Serenity Garden and Tree, where we're going to place a bulb for each person we lost in the community with substance use disorder and those still struggling. We also celebrate those in recovery during this time. But it's just, usually we always say it's going to last about an hour and a half. We all usually stay together a lot longer than that. It's just a really warm and touching event. And so I know Tim Shoecraft, you live quite a ways away, so you're probably not going to be able to make it, but hey, if you want to make the trip, you're more than welcome. Tim, I know you're over in Traverse City, right? So if you want to show up, you know where the Kolkaska Church of Christ is. Susie, you said you're busy, so, but I just wanted to remind people about this event. This is one of our largest events. It started the same year that we started the coalition. And like I said, it's just, we're there not just to remember those people, but you know, that is part of it. The other part is to educate the community, to encourage the community to take part in this. So they, you know, because we know that community support makes a difference in people's recovery. It's about community. So we're trying to make our community stronger by holding these events.